Hey, I'm Randy, and I'm the Cheap Audio Man. Here at the Cheap Audio Man, we don't feel like audio equipment should cost as much as your designer dog. They have funny names. A Shishon dog that maybe your daughter or your wife wants to get. That costs thousands of dollars. Actually, I think I'm going to walk this one back. I don't think designer dogs should cost as much as a high quality, moderately priced hi-fi system. Yeah. I left the coffee over here again. And these don't cost as much as a designer dog. These are the Wharfedale Diamond 12.2s. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and let's talk about the Wharfedale Diamond 12.2s. Woo! Wharfedale Diamond 12.2s. Extremely excited about this video ever since I reviewed the wonderful Wharfedale Diamond 11.2s. I talked about that, how excited I was to listen to these. First, if you want to support the channel, there's a few ways you can do it. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/cheapaudioman. A few different tiers. One of the tiers, you can move in with me for a month and help me take care of my children. I'm just kidding. It's more like a week. You can use any of the links in the description. I get a small commission, referral fee. Or the best way, the cheapest way, is to sign up for a free trial of Amazon Music HD. You click on the link in the description, scroll down to the bottom and click Try HD. And guess what? All the test tracks, my test track playlist is in there. So if you think I'm an idiot, which probably most of you do, you can listen to the parts of the song that I talk about and listen to it on your system. Okay? Yeah. All right, Wharfedale Diamond 12.2s. Magnetic grills. They're quite nice. Quite nice. Gently put them over here. I want to thank the folks over at Mophie Distribution for sending these out. Let's how do they look? I'll put my coffee over here so I don't burn myself. Waveguide. They have a 1-inch polyester, 1-inch soft dome polyester tweeter. Okay, waveguide, and they've got some cool stuff going on around there. 6.5-inch polypropylene and mica woofer. Hold on. Oh yeah. All right. They have a shiny black baffle, kind of like a piano gloss. The sides are a fake wood wrap, which is quite nice with a little bit of texture in it. They're rear ported. Oh my goodness, I'm getting my old ironing board sheet. Rear ported, and then they have these cool offset binding posts. Binding posts. With little jumpers in here. All right, so obviously you can bi-amp them or bi-wire them. I think they look quite nice, personally. Went back to a rear port. I know Karl-Heinz Fink, very famous and rightly so, speaker designer, worked on these. They're lovely. They're a British company, Wharfedale. So, let's talk about Soundstage and Imaging. So for the amps that I used on this, I actually used two. Well, three actually. The SVS Soundbase, which is Class D, very powerful. The Topping MX3, another Class D, different sound signature though. And the Emotiva TA100. Okay, and when I talk about the sounds, I'll talk about which amp made it sound differently. As far as Soundstage and Imaging goes, I use the usual suspects, Wherever I May Roam by Metallica. The beginning of the song, right after the intro, there's like some over to the right side. And if it images well, it sounds like it's coming out of the right wall. Guess what? It did. Killing Strangers, Marilyn Manson off the Pale Emperor record. Great record. In its entirety. Like, just listen to that whole record. It's awesome. Doom, doo doo, doo doo, doo doo doo, doo. And it keeps going. And it goes. And if it's really awesome and you're in a fairly, I don't know, consistent room, that song wraps all the way around you. And it did. Okay? Tested these in the near field in my office. I tested these in my bedroom as part of my home theater. And I tested these upstairs, which is a big, more consistent kind of rectangular room. Okay? Center imaging, exceptional in every category or every room. Drive in, drive out, Dave Matthews. The initial guitar should be somewhat kind of, I wouldn't say step back, but just not as loud as the rest of the song that comes in, and it should be behind the speakers. This did it. The placement where I felt like it got the best imaging in Soundstage was about 30 inches from the wall, towed in directly at me. Okay? I found that's when everything really got magical. Okay? But I'm not saying it wasn't good to begin with, closer to a wall. Was still fine. Okay? The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, boom, dead center. Hello by Adele, not Adele by Hello, which I said in the one of my previous videos. Hello by Adele, her voice was behind the speakers. Chocolate Chip Trip, great travel, no stop in the travel. So very smooth movement right to left, and More Human Than Human, the same. Great travel, right to left. Okay? Very good. Very good job, Wharfedale Diamond 12.2s. Let's talk about bass. All right, bass on these, again, Usual Suspects, Intergalactic by Beastie Boys. When I had them pulled out 30 inches from the wall, they did not give the deep impression of that song. And that song's great. If you have a subwoofer, run your speakers with the subwoofer on, turn the sub off, and take off any filters if you have them on your front speakers, like high-pass filters, and then play that song again. And if you kind of still get the impression of how deep that song goes, that means your speaker has really good roll-off, bass roll-off. Anyway, when I had them pulled out 30 inches, I didn't get that impression. However, in the near field, when I had them closer to the wall, about 10 inches, you get that room gain, okay? And that impression came back, all right? So with all that said, when I listen to Highway to Hell for the bass drum, it's like, this speaker to me is a very neutral speaker on the bottom. It's not editorializing the sound at all. So if it's deep, you're going to get deep. If it's just super tight, it's super tight. I didn't feel like this was coloring the sound at all. Killing Strangers, pretty much exactly the same thing. Again, closer to the wall, you get more of that bass impression. Further away from the wall, less so. I think that's going to be the case with any speaker. Bottom line is, I think these do a good job, and I don't feel like they're bumped, which gives them a better roll-off. So this speaker may be really good for folks that just want the music. They don't want the speaker making stuff up about their music. Okay? Yeah. Let's talk about Midrange. Midrange, again, Usual Suspects, Shoot to Thrill, AC/DC. That song should come in on the right speaker, slightly step back, not because of the speaker, but because of the recording. Should be crunchy, but yet full at the same time, okay? And clear. So these speakers did a great job of clarity, all right? But not as good of a job as some other speakers go. This speaker is crossed over at 2000 hertz. These speakers weren't bad by any means. They brought in that song, they brought it in clear, and it had weight to it. It's the finer details that I didn't quite hear and shoot to thrill. And the same kind of goes with all of it, all right? So, Hello by Adele. Again, her voice was wonderful. Wonderful. From a tonal perspective. Except the clarity, again, wasn't as great as other speakers. Now, in my final thoughts, I'll kind of get to that. But same holds true with Patience. Chris Cornell, when he covered the Guns N' Roses song. Very pleasing, but lacked that clarity, if you will. To me, the mids on this speaker kind of were, I don't know, leading the charge a bit. I felt like this was a very flat speaker, and I felt like the acoustic guitars, the voices, some things like that. I felt like this is a mid-forward speaker. Okay? Do you like how I did that? Let's talk about treble. Higher Love, Steve Winwood, the rim hits, they, again, lacked a little detail. Although tonally, they were very good. But again, they lacked that finite detail that I've heard in other speakers. Sinnerman. Now here is where the hi-hat sounded so good. And I would be hard-pressed to say that's coming from a speaker. If I had a bunch of speakers A, B, C-ing them, then I'd probably be able to pick out that this one's the speaker. But that song, very well done. Another Way to Die, Jack White and Alicia Keys from one of the 007 soundtracks. There is a piano after the initial intro coming out of the left speaker. Ding, ding, ding. And again, sounded great, but it didn't sound like it was in the room. Okay? What are my final thoughts? Final thoughts on this speaker, it is a better and more refined speaker than the Diamond 11.2. This is a speaker that is going to appeal to more people than the Diamond 11.2. I feel like the frequency response on this speaker is way more linear or flat than the 11.2. The bass is so much better, kind of, than the 11.2. I didn't mind the 11.2, but that bass was kind of bloated in there. I didn't mind it. You can get these closer to a wall and not just have the bass cover up the mids and stuff like that. The speaker's beautiful, all right? It's built great. It has sound staging and imaging that I think are nearly unrivaled in this price category, and that price category is $500. Okay, so $500 in the US, these speakers are. Are they worth it? Yeah, absolutely. This is a great speaker. This is I'm going to listen to this all day, and it's never going to be fatiguing speaker. This is well, I wouldn't call it rich or buttery. It is, you're going to get a lot in the mid-range. A lot of, this is probably kind of like I don't know if you know Sennheiser headphones, like the HD6XX. Kind of mid-focused. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it doesn't sound good with rock and roll or other genres like that. It does. And that's what I listen to most of the time. But it gives you a different take on the music than like a Klipsch RP600M will give you, or even the SVS Primes, okay? I would say this is a kind of like a debonair businessman. A British guy wears a suit in London. Maybe goes to the pub, but he probably drinks some type of fancy liquor. Love the speaker. It's a good speaker, very good speaker. I don't think you're going to buy this and get upset. The evolution from the Diamond 11 series to the 12 series, I feel like, is very similar of the ELAC B6 to the B6.2. The sound signatures, I feel, are somewhat similar, where the B6 was bassy and somewhat bloated on the bottom end, but soundstages really well. 6.2 was way more refined. I feel the same thing here, although I will say I like the speaker, the 12.2, better than I like the B6.2 from ELAC. I think this one has better bass. When you add better electronics or different electronics, you do get a different sound signature. The topping was a more analytical, so some of that detail did come back. The SVS was sound bass, very rich, very thick on the bottom. And again, it adds some of that bass in, right? So these speakers kind of give you, again, not only what the music gives you, but also what the amp is giving you too. I enjoyed it both ways. I enjoyed it with a more analytical amp, and I enjoyed it with a richer amp. The TA100 did a good job with these. I think this speaker probably will sound the best with a more treble amp on the top end. Okay? So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you do, subscribe, hit the like button, watch my other videos. Or on a Twitter, @CheapAudioMan, on Facebook. We have Zooms on Sunday nights for the patrons. And then we have live streams on Sunday nights too. So don't binge watch Netflix or anything. Go binge listen to your streaming services and fill your soul with happiness.